You know, we're living through some tough times. An affordability crisis, corruption at the highest levels of government, pointless wars, mass job losses. Everywhere you look, it feels like the world is falling apart. But strangely enough, there's a bright spot in all of this. And it starts with this Porsche 718 Boxster. Because to be quite honest with you, a lot of Porsche enthusiasts, as well as folks who enjoy the Porsche brand, drive these cars as a form of therapy. And in my opinion, this car sets the benchmark for that sane miles per gallon. So my name is John with Blackbird Productions, and today I'll be reviewing this Porsche 718 Boxster, as well as sharing that experience with you, and hopefully offer a small bright spot in what feels like an unprecedented time. Don't forget to leave a like below and also consider subscribing. I make car reviews like this every month. Thank you in advance and enjoy the video.
Wake up, look in the mirror. I've never seen her. I've never seen her. I'm out of ideas. What's a girl to do when the thrill is gone and nothing's new? When it's not fun, it's not fun, it's not fun anymore. No one can reach me, I'm nowhere to be. And don't ask me where I've been anymore. I've been in the hole, the hole, the hole. I've been in the hole, the hole, the hole.
So before anyone asks in the comments section, this car is finished in what Porsche calls Ruby Star Neo. This is a very distinctive color that draws all the right attention from all who are lucky enough to see a Porsche like this out in the wild. Unlike previous generations of the Boxster, this base model ditches the naturally aspirated flat 6 in favor of a 300 horsepower turbocharged 2-liter flat 4. And on paper, that might sound like a downgrade, especially if you've driven a Porsche with a flat 6 before. But here's the thing, once you actually drive this car, that whole story changes. Because in this flat 4, the power comes on early, builds smoothly, and carries itself in a way that feels incredibly usable in the real world. And coming from a flat 6, just because I used to own a 987 Boxster S, the power honestly caught me off guard in this car. There's no dramatic power surge, no big turbo spike or anything like that. Just a clean, predictable wave of power that makes the car feel far more approachable for a first-time Porsche owner. So let's talk about how this car actually handles. And at just around 3,000 pounds, the Porsche 718 Boxster already has the right foundation to feel agile. But weight alone isn't what makes this car special. It's where the engine sits, and that is right in the middle of this car. And the moment you start pushing this car through corners, you feel it. And it creates a connection that's honestly hard to replicate in anything else, especially in this type of car. And yeah, at this point in the video, I'm sure you're still skeptical of the flat 4 offered in this car if you're, again, just coming from a flat 6 Porsche. But here's what surprised me, and that's the fact that the experience behind the wheel actually doesn't feel compromised. So what do I mean by that? Well, you still get that signature mid-engine sensation with just enough sound and presence behind you to remind you that this is still very much a Porsche. This latest generation Boxster also drives surprisingly smooth for a convertible, and that is all credited to a very balanced sport suspension, as well as these 19-inch wheels wrapped in Pirelli P0s. As for the exterior of the Porsche Boxster, it hasn't really dramatically changed much over the years, and at a glance you might struggle to tell it apart from older models, but this specific Boxster tells a different story because it's the Style Edition, which basically means it comes with some extra bits and bobs, if you will, mainly just this big stripe coming down the hood area, some extra badging, and also some extra colors offered as well. Oh, and also this big Porsche decal on both sides of the doors. I think that's probably the more distinctive thing that you want to look for if you want to identify a Style Edition Porsche. And honestly, I feel like this is where Porsche definitely gets it right, because their options list is massive, and Porsche gives you the freedom to build a car that actually feels personal. So while the overall design design might feel familiar here, what makes this car interesting is how easy you can make it your own. Now it's time for the intermission. And if you're enjoying this video so far, definitely hit that like button. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. I upload new car reviews like this one every month. Thank you in advance and enjoy the intermission.
I'm beautiful, I know, 'cause it's the season. But what am I to do with all this beauty? Biology, I am an organism, I'm chemical, that's all, that is all. I'm liquid smooth, come touch me too, and feel my skin is plump and full of life. I'm in my prime, I'm liquid smooth, come touch me too. I'm at my highest peak, I'm ripe, about to fall, capture me.
Okay, so interior of the 718 Boxster. By modern standards, the interior of the 718 Boxster is surprisingly dated. And for a car that's flirting with a price of $80,000 brand new, I gotta be honest, I expected more here. Now, on the other hand, if you're someone who loves that old school driver focused layout, you're going to appreciate this because there's a sense of control and tactile feel offered here that, quite frankly, you don't see in a lot of newer interiors these days. But personally, I prefer less buttons. The center stack, it's crowded. There are a lot of buttons here, and while they feel great, it can feel a bit overwhelming at a glance. And I think it would have been nice if Porsche maybe consolidated some of these buttons into the screen, which I know that's sacrilege for a lot of car enthusiasts right now, but hear me out for a second. I feel that there's some buttons in the center stack that I know that I'm probably not going to use that much, and I feel like those buttons should be housed in the center screen. And I believe that doing this would clean up the layout a little bit more. And then there's this PDK shifter. I've always had issues with this thing, not necessarily issues, but just like, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. And in this spec, it just doesn't feel that special. It's a bit too light, a bit too plasticky, and over time, it doesn't really age particularly well with these cars, especially if debris finds its way into the shifting column. Honestly, it's surprising Porsche never addressed this with a more traditional shift boot design, but I digress. The seats, on the other hand, feel exactly how you'd want them to. They're firm, supportive, and they seat you very low in this car, which instantly makes the car feel more connected since it quite frankly surrounds you. The stitching across the seats and the door panels are very tight in this car, and also very premium, but oddly enough, not all of it is comfortable to touch. Like, for example, the stitching on this door grab almost feels like a cheese grater in your hand, and it isn't particularly pleasant to grab. Overall, I feel the interior needs some updating, and it's surprising to me that Porsche hasn't really done much since the introduction of the 718 Boxster, given that it's been out for about a decade now. All right, cons, rapid fire round edition. I've only got two. I've already talked about one. The interior is dated, so I'm not gonna beat a dead horse there. Second is the engine note. Funny enough, it's actually a little bit too quiet in this car, and it does sound good, don't get me wrong. It's just a little bit too quiet, and I definitely would recommend getting an aftermarket exhaust to open this car up a little bit more. Okay, now for the actual rapid fire round. And that includes my favorite feature, something I'd change, and advice for an aspiring owner. First thing is my favorite feature, hands down the Alcantara steering wheel. It feels very good to the touch, but I can't imagine it's gonna be easy to clean over time, so you'll definitely have to do your research and get the right product for this job to, clean and take care of the steering wheel. Because over time, Alcantara, it actually mats and it just gets kind of gunky. So it's just one of the things that you'll have to deal with, which I say deal with, but it's an option. You can go leather or Alcantara. Either way, I feel both leather and Alcantara suit this car very well. Okay, next, something I'd change, going back to the door grab thing, I would definitely consider putting some soft touch leather here. Obviously you as the consumer can't really do it. I think it would be like more of a Porsche factory type of thing. And it kind of goes back to how dated this interior is, honestly. And you know, some people might see this as a nitpick, but if you're owning this car long term, you're gonna have to deal with that feeling, you know, of opening and closing the door constantly. And quite honestly, it's one of those feelings that I don't think I can quite frankly live with. All right, next, device for aspiring owners. Right now, the future of the 718 platform is uncertain. Porsche has already pulled the plug on the Boxster from the new car sales in North America, and while they've teased the electric replacements for both the Boxster and Cayman, the messaging is honestly all over the place. 1 minute it's happening, the next is delayed, and quite frankly, no one really knows what the final product is going to look like. And with pricing for newer Porsches climbing every year, it seems like, this puts you in a weird spot as a buyer. So if you're interested in joining the Porsche ecosystem, I would seriously consider a 987 Boxster. It sounds better, it's more engaging, and in a lot of ways, it captures the spirit of this car far better than the 718 does. Minus the modern tech features, of course, and you know, little things like that. But aside from that, Porsche does still support the platform, the 987 platform. More recently, they actually introduced a updated head unit, so you could have Apple CarPlay on it now. And it's Porsche branded too. It's not any aftermarket stuff or anything like that. So I think that's pretty cool that Porsche is doing that. To my knowledge, they also make new parts still for the 987 platform as well. So the support as well as the aftermarket is still pretty healthy for the 987 platform. And that's my advice. I would seriously just consider a 987 Boxster or a Boxster S if you can find one for a reasonable price. So with that, let's go ahead and rate this 718 Boxster. And my rating system is pretty simple. I look at stuff that actually matters to most people looking for a car these days. That includes quality, reliability, styling, handling, and of course, power. So let's start with quality. And for quality, I'll have to give it a 4 out of 5, just due to the cheaper feeling shifter. Next up is reliability. 5 out of 5, easy for me. It's a Porsche. I have worked on Porsches before. The maintenance is very, very easy. And even if you don't want to wrench on your own Porsche, you could always find a third-party shop that's willing to take you in for service. So they're fairly cheap to maintain, despite what many people might tell you that actually have not owned a Porsche before. So 5 out of 5 from me. Next up is styling, and I'm gonna have to give it a 5 out of 5. Should I say more than that? Porsches are iconic, and the styling is very minimal, very irritative, as I've mentioned before, and a lot of people are into that these days, including myself. So I'll have to give this car a 5 out of 5 for styling. For handling, I'll also have to give it a 5 out of 5. Nothing handles like a Porsche. And it's one of those categories where I'll have to ask myself, do I have to say more than that? Last one is power, and I thought a lot about this one, just because I love this car. Honestly, I do. Despite everything I had to say in this review, I do really do enjoy the 718 Boxster, but the power, it just doesn't feel quite right in this car. Everything feels overly linear, and it's not as torquey as the 987 Boxster, at least from what I remember. So power, I'm gonna have to give a 3 out of 5. Average those ratings up, and we get a 4 out of 5 for the 718 Boxster. So that is my review of this latest generation Porsche Boxster. Tell me what you guys think in the comments section about the 718 Boxster. And if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and also consider subscribing. Like I said, I create videos like this every month, as well as other videos, all centered around cars. So if you love cars as much as I do, definitely consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.